live a life of simplicity. And for those, for all of you, when you go back to the world and return to 5 precepts, I hope then having that short period of time when you've lived that more radically simple lifestyle gives you a perspective, maybe give you some ideas for making your ordinary life a little bit more simple. Because the simpler our lives are, more easy it is to be mindful, the more easy it is to be content. I would say the more easy it is to be happy. So we live in a complex world, of course, and some of its complexity is unavoidable. But there are areas of our life where if we see the value of simplicity, we can make some small tweaks and changes that can improve quality of life. So this is one of the things to learn from a retreat, living a little differently than we do normally, not being plugged into social media and not looking at our telephones every few minutes, and just that is already quite a difficult thing to begin with. And again, when we take 8 precepts, the important thing to do is just to notice whether or not it is in fact difficult. Is it more difficult than you thought, less difficult than you thought? And we can't really gauge our attachment to things in the world while we're still flowing along in that worldly stream. And some things you have to stop altogether before you get some sense of to what extent it's become a little bit of an obsession or too unhealthy or an unbalanced relationship with certain areas of our life. So before even we get on to the meditation practice, this coming to a meditation center or a monastery, then so many things to adapt to in a very short period in terms of sleeping arrangements, times of sleeping, rather kind of regimented life in which you don't have very much say over what you're doing at any time of the day, and giving up that kind of control and how that feels and whether it makes you want to rebel a little bit and break some of the rules just to break them. Then, we all have that kind of teenage kind of energy, I think. I know I did on my first retreat. And so I'm bringing this up also because it feeds into what I see as the value of retreat. I mean, I don't think well, maybe you will, and if you do, then I'll be very happy. But I don't think you're going to make like huge steps and strides on the path to enlightenment in the course of a few days. But I would like to suggest you look at the retreat as a learning process, an exploration, and chance to just to soak up the Buddha's teachings a little bit more profoundly than you have done, and to be able to apply yourself to the teachings with a continuity which is very difficult to find at home when you have so many other responsibilities to attend to. So this is the value of a retreat, putting things to one side and giving yourself wholeheartedly to this study, practice of Dhamma and see what happens. Not have any expectations, if that's possible, or of course you probably do have some expectations, but simply to be aware of those. An expectation is an expectation. And some of the expectations may be fulfilled, some may not. But that's just the way things are, isn't it? So when we arrive at the retreat, then first thing is, what's the raw material you've got to work with right now? You have maybe some physical issues, some illness or some problem or other, and maybe some anxiety about how that's going to affect your experience on the retreat and your ability to contribute or to participate. And so look at that. That's part of the retreat. So the retreat's already started before we get here even. And before we get into the sort of the formal sitting and walking, is like, how do you feel about being here in the first place? Some trepidation, some sense of intimidation, some excitement. Those of you who've done many retreats before, sort of old hands, and maybe comparing it with other places, or maybe just feel really kind of fluent and you can just straight into it. Other people, maybe a sort of new thing, relatively new, and still a little bit kind of worried about how it's all going to pan out. So, I could just go on like that for a long time, couldn't I? All the possible things that are swirling through your mind. But the thing is to be aware, this is it. We're not starting off with a blank slate. We have this body and this mind, and body's got its stuff to deal with, and our mind's got other stuff to deal with. And that's what a retreat is. Just say, well, we're not going to turn away from this body and this mind for the next few days. So retreat from the world is an encounter with our body and mind. And part of the simplification of the precepts, is meant to enhance this determination, this ability to face up to what's really going on within us right now. And why is it like this? What are the causes and conditions underlying how it is right now? How do we recognize, how do we deal with, how do we abandon the unwholesome conditions and cultivate the wholesome conditions? So all kinds of challenges, and some things you think are going to be difficult before you come, and they're actually quite easy. Other stuff you never thought would be a problem at all, and it turns out to be a real, really difficult. And that's it. That's what a retreat is about. It's not going to be what you think it is. It's going to be something. But how can you enjoy it? I hope you can all feel you enjoy it. In one of the Buddha's discourses, he talks of the qualities of a noble being, of a noble monk. He said the lineage of the noble, the Arya Vamsa. And one of the qualities that he lists is the joy in abandoning the unwholesome and cultivating the wholesome. So it can seem like kind of hard work and a real kind of, drudge at times, and quite grueling, tiring work. But being able to enjoy and to see the joy in it. And every small victory over defilement, just that less letting go a little bit at a time of that attachment and ignorance. And when we see that in the context of our whole life and practice, we can find some joy in that. Even more so when we see some good qualities manifesting and appearing within us. We don't need to think that being humble means that you don't acknowledge the good qualities within you. That's not what humility means. Humility means that you don't take ownership of them and think you're special because of them. But being able to recognize, acknowledge, and to celebrate the virtues that arise in your heart through practice of the Dhamma is something that really empowers the meditation and enables the kind of consistency of practice that we need. So in addition to the 8 precepts are accompanied by all these agreements. As I say, we're living a large number of people together, spending a lot of time in a hall like this, and so to have minimum impact, negative impact on those around us. We're very careful about how we move, how we get up, how we sit down, where we put our shoes, and all these kinds of things. But it's like to see this as acts of compassion. This is how you make these like high-sounding, idealistic, inspiring virtues like compassion real, like in daily life, in the quality of your actions and speech, how you treat the people around you, the respect you show them, the consideration you show, the fact that you're taking people's needs and fears and desires into account. Their comfort, take other people's account into comfort. This is the heart of the we call the Brahma Viharas, is this refusing to make distinctions between one's own welfare and the welfare of others. So we have all these conventions, and as I say, keep your eyes and ears open, and don't expect to get it. Don't feel you have to get all the kind of stuff about bowing and everything, absolutely perfect and right, and there'll be somebody kind of tapping you on the shoulder if you don't. It's not like that. But it's for your own practice, and it creates a kind of a sharpness and a clarity around your movements. So when we in the monk's life, we have so many of these rules. You have a bag, and you have to put a bag down like this, and you have to have the strap over this side, and it can't be that side, and it has to be this far away from the so much stuff. But you just absorb it, and it becomes like second nature. But it gives a real fluency to and grace to your actions that would not be there otherwise. We have a rule about not speaking. Is that correct? Yes. So that's really important, And I have this reputation of having like a full schedule and busy, but for many years now I've been a figures man. And what I mean by that is, I used to have these arguments with people about things, and other monks, and they say, well, that's just your perception. You know, you had this kind of Buddhist argument. Yeah, well, this is my perception and your perception and whose perception and that kind of argument. And I thought there must be some kind of like objective referent where it's not just a matter of whose interpretation wins out. And so I thought numbers. That's my refuge, numbers. So when I came here, I had a number. I have to spend 300 nights out of every 365 in my kuti here. So if I have a invitation to go here and go there, whether it's in other parts of Thailand or in overseas, then it has to be within 65 nights. And if it's more than that, then that's my quota. So I had some people say, oh, you're always going here and there. I said, well, yeah, it's within my quota, you see. And so and also I think hours of the day I spend with other people compared with hours that I spend alone. And I still, like over a year, I was like 80 or 90% of my waking hours are spent alone. So I have a lot of experience of silence, of not speaking. And it's wonderful. I mean, I love it. But also, what happens is that thoughts just come up into the mind, but because you don't have anybody to talk to, they just sort of there, and then they just wither away and fall away. And sometimes I think, yeah, if somebody had been sitting there right now, I would have said that, and it would have become sort of part of my personal history in the world. But it didn't. Just a mental state that arose and passed away. And quite happy about that. But because that's the sort of the way that I live my life, then being able to recognize mental states as they arise before they're vocalized has become very developed in my mind. And I used to think years ago, when you see the Buddha said, teaching Rahula, his son, know what you're going to say before you say it, while you're saying it, after you say it. I said, how is that possible? But now I can have a much better idea of that because of spending so much time. My whole lifestyle is basically based on silence. That I can. So I'm a proponent. I'm a supporter, enthusiastic supporter of spending time keeping silent, because that link between intention, thinking, and action is quite easily broken. I mean, even in ordinary everyday life, so many times you think you're going to do something and then you can't do it. It's too late, it's too early, or something else happens. But the link between intending to say something and saying something, that's very rarely broken. It's very rarely an occasion where something comes up and you don't say it. Maybe, yeah, you're afraid you hurt somebody's feelings, or it happens every now and again, but not on a regular basis. But when you're on a retreat, then you have this incredible opportunity to explore this whole area of the intention to speak, and to look exactly what would be the purpose of those words, what would be the function, what would be the value of speaking those words. So, it's not that they're bad or anything, but it's just to have a whole new, much heightened awareness of intention as it is usually expressed in our speech. So I would say generally you can't develop that kind of subtle awareness of intention with regards to speech, unless you have a firm determination not to speak at all for a certain period of time. And of course at home in family life, how often can you do that? If you just sit there quietly for even a few minutes, people around you starting to think, are you angry? Are you upset with me? Is it something I said? It's like, so that's part of like living with other people. You're constantly having to reassure them that you're not unhappy with them. You don't have to do that here. You don't have to just be with your body, be with your mind. And when those sort of thought comes up to say something, that's real food for contemplation. It's very interesting, and to what extent it's just to out of habit, or just to a sense of creating like a safe sphere around you, or some kind of comfort, whatever it might be. It's like we're looking at the body and we're looking at the mind, and we're not letting any leaks. So speech is usually a leak, and sometimes why there's that overwhelming desire to speak and have a conversation. It's just you want to sort of get stuff off your chest, but that's not a very good analogy, getting stuff off your chest, because the moment you speak, then you want to speak more. So it's not like you actually get anything off your chest. You're just replacing what's on your chest with something else. Anyway, sila is the ground for spiritual development and spiritual cultivation. The Buddha said, just as the ground is the base for any kind of action in the world, similarly sila is the ground for spiritual cultivation. So without sila, then we're constantly acting in ways and speaking in ways which we don't feel so happy about. But if we lead a very busy lifestyle, we can suppress them or repress them quite usually. But in a retreat where we're relaxing all those all those means by which we keep unpleasant memories at bay. As you relax and meditation, as stuff comes up, and if you're leading a very unsavory life, then stuff comes up which is quite upsetting. And so usually people who don't keep precepts don't want to meditate, and they have very good reasons that they can give why meditation's a waste of time. But underneath is this fear of being with oneself and what one might see. So sila gives you that kind of confidence and courage to look more closely at your mind and to have a sense of being a good friend to yourself, liking, if you keep precepts, you like hanging out with yourself. It's like you're a good companion to yourself. You're a good friend to yourself. But if you don't keep precepts and you act and speak in ways which are hurtful and of which you feel some shame or guilt, then the last thing you want to do is just to sit alone and be with yourself. That's sort of kind of the most miserable thing. So sila it's not just that keeping sila leads to success in meditation or as a foundation, but the very interest or willingness to meditate in the first place is conditioned by sila. And when we have these precepts, and Ajahn Chah's famous phrase, you look after your precepts look after you. And I think that's so true. It gives you a sense of stability and integrity, and readiness to do this work of meditation.